Just a little quick introduction. I'm Alan, Alan C. You might know me from the suiting and tailoring world if you've been in the industry before. I'm here to really talk about Hong Kong and it being the world's tailoring hub. Just to start off really quickly, before we get to that page, let me just give you an idea of why I'm here. I'm here to really, hey, hi. Let's wait for a few guys to get seated. I'm here really to call a bit of awareness to an industry that's really sort of existed and sort of worked in the backgrounds of Hong Kong for a long time now. And it's taking a really quiet back seat to the fashion industry in Hong Kong. I think when we come to these events and we go to a lot of the industry events in Hong Kong, a lot of the money is sort of powered by the big industries. When you see the textile councils and things like that, you'll see the factories, you'll see the knitwear companies, you'll see a lot of the guys that really have the big, the big marketing, the big money, and sort of is quietly also supporting sort of Hong Kong, and also present in a lot of the sort of government sort of support pillars, I would say. But I'm here to call support to something that's a bit more behind the scenes, which are the tailors, the craftsmen, and the guys that have that skill set that have been irreplaceable, and they've been using sort of decades to sort of build that skill up. Just a really quick note before we get into that slide I quickly sort of passed by just now. Hong Kong tailoring is nothing new. It's been around for a long time. Actually, parts of it are in Hong Kong's intangible cultural history. So it's actually recognized, parts of it, as a part of Hong Kong's deep and underlying culture and contributing to Hong Kong's culture. And give you an idea also, 50 years ago, there are an estimated about 500 tailor shops just in Tsim Sha Tsui alone, right? So that's quite a lot. Also, when people talk about suiting and tailoring, a lot of people talk about Savile Row, people talk about Italian tailoring, but actually in the 1960s, this was obviously around the 50 years ago again, we actually, as a Hong Kong industry in terms of tailors, surpassed Savile Row. We surpassed Italy and the UK in terms of the amount of suits and sort of tailoring that was here. And why I note this down, it's to sort of give you a bit of framework, a bit of background into some of the slides and some of the points that I'll be talking to in a little bit. So I'm not here to really harp about the past, but to really set the stage of how Hong Kong has built this amazing foundation and amazing sort of stage to house probably what we can build as the next capital and the next hub of tailoring in the world. Okay, fast forward to the present. I think, I'm not here to talk about styling. I'm not here to talk about, how good people look and stuff like that. But let's talk about numbers, right? The present day, in terms of custom clothing, and we're not talking about just about suits, not talking about ready to wear, but the custom clothing sector itself is estimated to be, huge. I mean, 59.9 billion by Global Growth Insights. I mean, at the low end, you have 47.3 billion from HDF Market Intelligence. So, the numbers are anywhere from 40 plus billion US dollars to 60 billion US dollars, right? And that's a big number. It has, these kind of numbers actually include a lot of names that you might be familiar with. So guys like Xenia, like Ralph Lauren, like Tom Ford, they have a ready-to-wear portion, but of course, all of these guys are so rooted in tailoring. And when you have tailoring, you have the custom side of it. And the custom side of it represents this side, right? So when you have the big names, Ralph Lauren, blah, 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 those guys you've heard of, definitely. But actually, there's a lot of names in there that, are more sort of familiar with us, like L&K tailors from Tsim Sha Tsui, like who is that, right? But you also have guys like W.W. Chan from Central, but these guys are all sort of local small tailors in Hong Kong, but actually contribute on a grand scale to these kind of numbers. Again, we have, I'm sure there's quite a few of you who are the industry. There's a lot of the suppliers and manufacturers. I see Wing Tai and all those guys there. They are the manufacturers for a lot of, I guess, the bulk production side. And again, with the custom tailoring side, it is definitely not one to be ignored as well. Okay. But yeah, so nice numbers, but that actually does not include a lot of the peripheral sort of businesses, which actually flows through Hong Kong as well. For example, the fabric side, the finishing side, everything that actually goes into the suits itself. So yeah, again, a big industry that cannot be ignored. Yeah. So I really want to bring attention when I say Hong Kong is the world's tailoring hub. It's not just a dream that we have. It's actually already here, right? In terms of the tailoring industry, Hong Kong actually has all the pieces that are sort of there and needed to make it achieve that dream. I can tell you that in terms of Hong Kong and I guess the world, there's a lot of tailors, or not a lot of, there's only a few tailors that really strike your mind if you're in the industry and if you're in the know, right? If you head to Savile Row, then you have a few tailors like Anderson and Shepherd, Gibbs and Hawkes, you have Huntsman, all those guys which are basically the top of their game. In Italy, the same thing. You have the few guys, like Rubinacci, you have the really famous tailors around Italy that actually the industry guys go to. So when you go there, the thing that I learned from being in tailoring is that actually a lot of the fashion guys do pull inspiration, they do respect. It is the golden benchmark in terms of making a suit. And obviously suiting, jackets, are all integral parts of the fashion industry. So just really quickly, 30 plus skilled visiting tailors. These are actually, it's a small number, but these are actually the tailors from the Italy, when I mentioned Anderson Shepherd, all those guys, everyone comes through Hong Kong, right? Which is an interesting point because not many cities in the world have that center. They don't have that sort of pull and demand, right? Hong Kong is also the place where not just the tailors, but actually the tailors bring with them a lot of the knowledge. They bring with them generations of skill set and sort of decades of learning. And they actually bring it to Hong Kong while they're here on their sales trips. And actually, some of these guys have passed through organizations like CETA and stuff like that. And they have previously actually expressed the need to pull from, number one, like lots of talent, for example. They have also expressed the desire to sort of share, for example, sort of share in terms of cutting, pattern making, just the skills in terms of how to further the next generation. Now, in terms of problems of the industry, I'll get to that in a little bit, but just to continue on this page, in terms of Hong Kong being and having a lot of that pieces of the puzzle that make it into a tailoring hub. We have been in the center of the fashion industry. When I say fashion industry, I also mean the industry, the industrial side of it, is one of the few places where you have that sort of unique sort of intersect of the fashion designers. You have the factories, the merchandising, you have Li and Feng's of the world, the Wing Tais, but also you have these unique skill set of these craftsmen who can make entirely sort of made by hand garments, and they can go from pattern making, cutting, all the way to actually the tailoring side, but on the highest level, right? So you have this really unique intersect of the fashion side and the textile side. Yeah, so I think a lot of people have been talking about Hong Kong being the world's fashion hub. I think a lot of the questions also nowadays is how to retain that, or what does the future look like? What is our USP? What is our unique sort of position in Hong Kong, right? And I think we are still very much in the center, and we still do have a lot of that sort of advantages. And in Hong Kong, we are one of the few places where we can source, make, orchestrate, and create all in this tiny place, right? And we can go from central side to Sam Shui Po side to get your fabrics. You can go to Lai Chi Kok to go to your Li and Feng to piece it all together, and then you can go to Central again to see it being sold. Right? It's one of the few places not just to get things done in terms of the network, but actually you also have the communities, right? You have the fashion community, you have again the manufacturing community, and all these guys in terms of support. Not just to support, but also to inspire. But again, it is something that we do need to support and sort of build on to keep it going, as you do see it, it's an emergency time and critical time to get it into the next stage. But yeah, as I mentioned, we have been and we are one of the leading places in terms of tailoring for not just creating and making, but actually selling, right? And I think that's a big part of Hong Kong. When I talked about, the big brands like the Xenias, Ralph Lauren's, or whatever, actually, I'm not sure. I'm sure a lot of the retailers here would know, but actually Hong Kong was one of the few places where one small market of 7 million people could eclipse bigger markets like the whole of the US or the whole of Europe, right? So Hong Kong, Macau, back in the day, well, not back in the day, but merely like 5-6 years ago, in terms of selling suiting, was the top. But yes, again, we still have a unique and amazing retail market. It's one of the few places where you can really set up a brick and mortar store and have that global footfall, right? Having had a shop in Central, it's one of the few places where setting up that shop has people coming in regularly, every day, every week, from everywhere in the world, from America to Europe. And they're not just there to do their business, but they're actually there a lot to shop as well. Yes, yeah. Okay, I can talk about that maybe after a little bit of it. Yeah, I'll leave some time for that. Okay, so just really quickly after that, again, we'll talk about a little bit more about the actual tailoring industry. Just now I was talking about the custom clothing side, where you have, a mixture of the big brands, the industry, and also, a mixture of the smaller tailoring shops. But in terms of the tailoring shops, I think that is where the real sort of blood and sort of the essence of this industry lies. I'm not sure whether you guys know, but we still have about 450 plus tailor shops in Hong Kong. This is not including the big brands like Ralph Lauren's, and these are the WW Chan's, these are the LK tailors, the Kun Keys of Hong Kong, right? So we have 450 plus shops that I can count on a directory that are still around, okay? And give you an idea, we only have, that's for every one McDonald's, you have 2 tailor shops, right? For every 2 7-Elevens, you have 1 tailor shop. So that's a lot of suiting. That's a lot of suiting. And again, this is the present. Actually, probably 5 years ago, you would find even more. But yes, we also have, give you an idea, you have 450 shops, and these are the shops and not the people behind it, right? An actual tailoring skill. Now, this is something that's really interesting because I think nowadays, obviously, due to a lot of the aging of the skill and also just pure from the demand side, right? And I was talking about how Hong Kong was in the 60s the biggest location and the biggest market for suiting. That really set the stage for us to have this huge amount of workers or huge amount of tailors who have spent their lives learning how to tailor a suit, right? And I think nowadays when we talk about, all the problems in terms of tariffs and duties and things like that, I was just talking with a friend the other day, and his factory was affected because, the source, the retail customer said, hey, it's now 45% to import. I need to shift my factory to Vietnam or somewhere, right? So nowadays we're always talking about, I guess, replacing factories at the snap of a finger and moving it to different sort of geographic locations. But I'm telling you, with the tailors, they spent decades learning it. These are skill sets that you can't just move and are that sort of replaceable. So it's something that Hong Kong really has that can really empower and become, in my opinion, be the catalyst for sort of the next golden age of Hong Kong, right? And again, actually, when we're talking about this sort of group of, retailers plus tailors plus, these are guys who do everything themselves, right? They go from making the garment to actually having to sell these pieces. And actually, a huge portion of Hong Kong's tailoring market is abroad, right? It's 40+%. This is through a combination of things, what we call like to call trunk shows. You obviously have actually a lot of people coming through Hong Kong just to visit these tailors, whether it be when they're in town on a business trip or just passing through and they're picking up, a tailored suit from Hong Kong that they've heard so much about. It's really a testament for Hong Kong being a platform to access the rest of the world. I think it's really interesting because there's not that many products nowadays that you could say come from Hong Kong, made in Hong Kong, and flow to all corners of the world. So I don't know whether there are any of the Brand Hong Kong Tourism Board guys. This could be something that is the next made in Hong Kong product, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop really quickly here for this portion. So just in conclusion, really quickly of this part, Hong Kong has an amazing sort of, it has all the puzzle pieces needed. You have all the talent from all around the world in terms of tailoring coming to Hong Kong. We have some establishments which are currently still teaching about tailoring. You do have, an amazing sort of workforce of people with irreplaceable talent and also knowledge in terms of the tailoring world, and they're all ready to collaborate, right? I think simply we should be able to use all these puzzle pieces, put them together, and sort of, spearhead that next generation of fashion using something so precious. Okay, really quickly. So this was going to be my call for support for a lot of the government guys out there, but right now we've just started rounding everybody up. So we've pieced together a lot of the tailors of Hong Kong. In terms of tailoring in Hong Kong, it has traditionally been a very siloed individual sort of business. Everyone's sort of gatekeeping their own sort of knowledge and businesses. But times have moved on. New generations have come in, and there's definitely a huge sense of collaboration. Through Hong Kong, we're sort of piecing the tailors together, so we have the collective strength to sort of do new things and also approach new collaborations and sort of advance it. And also not just in Hong Kong, but we are now collaborating with a lot of associations in the UK, for example, with Savile Row, and also in Italy. But these are a few things that I really need to work on. You know, we need to do communications and branding. Like, for example, just now we're talking about, you know, the only product that, you know, in terms of fashion, a made in Hong Kong product that flows to everywhere in the world. I mean, from our own estimates, the Hong Kong market itself is quite a few $1 billion itself just from the small 450 shops. So with that in mind, we can think about, you know, flowing product, made in Hong Kong product to the rest of the world. We do have films and sort of some documentaries and also some books already underway. So again, a lot of these things need a lot of funding. So if you guys know people who, you know, want to be part of this movement, please contact me afterwards. Again, collaboration. We've been trying to spearhead lots of collaboration cross sectors with, you know, I like to sort of approach it through the culture, with the arts, with sports, with the film industry and music and a lot of things like that. But that's definitely something that we do need a lot of support on as well. But yeah, so right here, government recognition and support. I think this one's really important. Tailoring industry, again, existed a little bit, you know, below the line. They're kind of in the backgrounds. There's no such thing as a tailor in Hong Kong in terms of occupation. It sort of falls under something much broader. So, you know, being able to recognize what they do and how special it is would be a start, step one, right? We have other things in the works, like simple operational excellence. We need people to come in, take a look at the industry, see what we can do better. There's a lot of improvements that can be done to such a traditional and old school sort of industry, right? One thing that we really need to work on actually globally is the talent pool development. I think a lot of you, especially those in the school uniforms, when they think tailoring, when they think suits, it's all about sort of old, maybe your dad, uncle kind of generation. And when they think tailors also, even worse, then you don't see many young people in the industry. So that's something that we really need to address, is sort of how to draw and how to bring people and get them interested in the industry again. I think CETA we're working with a little bit, but definitely we need lots of support from other educational institutes. Sorry, I think time is running. Yeah, I am part of the Sartorial Association, and let me know if you guys need to connect. Sorry, I don't think we have time to go through the whole supply chain, which would take another day, I think. But yeah, thank you so much for your time and your ears.